Welcome back to the news, everybody. It is another edition of the Roundup where I take you through the spicy, juicy, fun things going on in the industry, and they are today. We, of course, have Twitch's big gesture, which has quite a number of caveats that actually matter. Imagine if someone did a medium business support program rather than a small business support program. A bit of that. It's kind of weird. We have major worries within World of Warcraft of essentially a rotating store coming into the game. People are really worried about that. As a WoW player, I am too. We have quite a lot of Sony's strategy. There is a game topping Steam that I suppose you could say is probably beating Battlefield in PC at least right now that you should definitely know about, and some new McDonald's news. Yeah, I know, sounds a bit weird, but let's get into that first story then, which is about World of Warcraft. So there's a thing in the game called the trading post, and you get 500 currency for that post every single month, and if you do in-game activities, you can get another 500. Currently, there is no direct monetization of that. It's not a currency that you can acquire. Basically, it is just do things in-game, buy a few pieces of cosmetic, gear, right? And broadly speaking, while people have been worried that something bad could happen, the feature itself has been very well received. Now, to facilitate it working on an account-wide basis, the currency trader's tender that is used for this system is actually implemented as a Battle.net virtual currency. And that's only, until now at least, been a back-end thing. But what happened is that in the most recent build of the public test realm, some store assets, such as this one, actually appeared. Now those do look very suspicious. There's file names like shop currency overlay and shop VC. VC meaning virtual currency, and with that, you can very much assume that Blizzard are gearing up to sell this currency for real money. Now, for the uncynical take, you could say, based on some prior monetization in the Korean region, where they had been able to purchase lesser charms of great fortune and an XP potion back in like 2014, this could be a business model for other regions, right? So basically, Taiwan and Korea. That kind of thing has happened before. Also, ex-community manager Josh Allen suggested this could be assets for Twitch drops, Prime bonuses, and all other sorts of things that could be going on. And there are denominations of 50 that to some people have seemed a bit weird, like that it's just going up and up and up by 50, because that's not really the the purchasing structure of most virtual currencies. I would maybe counter that to just say, the artists don't know what the tiers are going to be, so the artists will probably just export everything that could be needed by the people who will be implementing this. Now, if the worst version of this does come to pass, then that basically is it's like having the Fortnite store in WoW, just you got to buy a currency in between, and just that currency can be, obtainable in-game, but all that then does is it reframes the trader's tender that you can get in the game to an overt time equals money situation where, yeah, you could go get all those trader's tenders for free, or you can just, swipe and buy all the things immediately. It then puts a bunch of rough incentives into the game, such as Blizzard putting loads and loads of items on that are really expensive, because now that mount that costs 800 traders tender when you can only normally get 1,000 a month, now that feels very different, and it's not a choice of like, what item do I want to spend the limited currency on, and it then turns into, to buy everything, I have to pony up. That honestly would feel terrible, and that would overtly be free-to-play game bullshit making its way into an MMO where you have to buy the expansion and pay a sub fee, which would be absolutely unacceptable. The next thing then is Twitch's big gesture, and I would like you to try doing the gesture of ringing that notification bell, selecting all notifications that are personalized so that, well, it actually tells you when a video is coming out, and also to subscribe. You'd be shocked how many people watch most of our videos and haven't done either of those things, and you're just kind of relying on, will the algorithm tell me when the news is? Which is a bit rough if you actually want to know the news. Okay, Twitch's big gesture then is good news maybe, because they've introduced the Partner Plus program, and there are caveats. And those are really major. So the headline is that from October this year, streamers can get a 70-30 split on their net subscription revenue, which does mean gift subs and recurring subs. I mean, 70-30, that's competitive with YouTube, yay! But, there's a but. It only covers the first $100,000 earned, and you have to qualify for this. And the qualification criteria is that you must keep 350 subs for 3 months. Once you're qualified, though, you will have this revenue for 12 months, even if your sub number drops. But the catches are really massive here. Number one, you've got to be a partner already. And secondly, Twitch Prime and gifted subs do not count for that 350. That, I think, is Twitch basically saying, look, subs that aren't intentionally someone giving you a recurring subscription, right? Like the other, sorts of weird subs that happen on Twitch, we can't rely on that person's revenue for as much time. Therefore, we cannot give you this revenue split. And the thing is, this is quite massive because gifted subs and Twitch Prime subs, those for some people are like 25 to 50% of their total number of subs. And for smaller streamers, this really does matter. And that's why I called it at the top of the show a medium business support scheme rather than a small business support scheme. Because ultimately what this should be is something to help the smaller folks out. Because by the time you are, by the time you've hit these larger things, you're broadly going to be a bit more okay. It is below this 350 count where each one of those subs actually does matter so much more to the person. So that is quite rough. This qualifier then means that it is going to impact the minority of streamers, because it really is a true minority that has 350 recurring non-prime, non-gifted subs. And that means that it is not a total win. I think you can respect that this is the right direction. Right? It does mean that when pushed, Twitch can offer a 70-30 split. It's just when you dive into it, it's funky. I mean, you could say that on one hand, this does set a very clear goal for streamers and their communities, because they can say, hey, could you try giving me your sub so that I can unlock this thing that'll actually be really impactful for my revenue? It'll be like, hey, if I get 3 more subs, I'll get 20% more cut. And communities would probably be, open to supporting them like that. But I think for a lot of people, though, this has felt like something that doesn't humongously matter, because the 70-30 is on a small number of people, and within, it's quite bounded. It's the first 100K, but it's like, the first 100K for people who by default I've got 350 recurring subs, which could mean more like 700 in total when you add in your Twitch Prime and your gifted subs and all that. It's a step in the better direction. It is literally more competitive, but it is still not competitive with YouTube in terms of that basic cut. Twitch is a very bizarre business. It continually feels to me like they're just trying and trying harder and harder. I mean, recently they had the drama that we covered in the channel that they instantly tried to walk back on, and now they've done this. Just Twitch feels weird in the way that their company runs. I have to wonder, are they just one of those bloated tech companies who's got so many people with humongous salaries because of the locality they're running in, and it's just one of those things where streamers are suffering because Twitch is a very inefficiently ran service provider? It's like, could Twitch axe honestly loads of its staff, loads of its costs, actually focus on being a utility ad platform that provides this service and this content? Could it just like radically refocus on that, make it the best place for creators to go with the most tools, the best revenue splits? Could they not do that and attract people naturally? I don't know. It seems like the sensible thing to do from my perspective. Anyway, to move on though, we do have a bit on Sony's strategy, which is no games day one, but you can play them in cloud soon. So basically, PlayStation's head of subscriptions was speaking to GameIndustry.biz and was very quick to reinforce what their plans are, that they generally don't want their games on subscription services anytime near launch. We are happy with our strategy, he says. Putting games in a bit later in the life cycle means we can reach more customers 12, 18, and 24 months after they've released. We're seeing customers still get excited about those games and are jumping in. For us, that works. Plus, obviously, you don't want to give up all of your launch day revenue. Microsoft is willing to give up the big launch day revenue because they know they have a lower install base, and for them, Game Pass really is a pillar of their business. I think more so than the premium version of PlayStation Plus is for Sony. Occasionally, there will be opportunity to invest in day and date situations like Stray, and we can jump on those when they come in. But for us, letting those first-party games go out to the platform outside the service first, that's working, and that will continue to be our strategy. So basically, first-party titles launching as a full $70 paid premium product that is the thing that they are focusing on. But if there is a strong sort of PlayStation indie partner, they are happy to do the sort of wider PlayStation Plus thing. But otherwise, their big reveal is that they've started talking about what streaming games locally to PS5 consoles will be like. So it's in testing at the minute, and it'll only be open to a small section of the player base. But PlayStation Plus Premium members will soon be able to stream PS5 games alongside their PS3, 4, and classic titles. And their aim there is to basically cover games in your library as well as some ones from the wider game catalog. So yeah, maybe that will sort of justify the existence of Project Q. For a lot of people though, depending on what their download speeds are like, there is utility in just being able to hit the play button and jump straight into the game. Certainly I'll say that I've been very impressed with how PlayStation's remote play has worked. I've got a Backbone controller, I snapped that onto my phone, and I was actually just chilling out in another room playing some Jedi Fallen Order with basically imperceptible lag and absolutely fantastic visual quality, just streaming that, of course, locally through my router on Wi-Fi. So it's pretty neat. Next then, a game highlight. I think this is one that I'm going to be playing over the weekend for sure. It is BattleBit Remastered. You probably noticed that its early access launch has exploded. It's the highest selling game on Steam by revenue, and that's at a $15 price point. It's been sitting comfortably in the top 10 played games during its debut evening. And look, this is what it looks like. And to be honest, I look at this and I think, fuck yeah. The amazing thing, 4-person indie team. And here, you're getting that big, scale of Battlefield, but actually, this game does have some of those milsim DNA, milsim vibes, like a game, say, Squat. But I think what helps here is that there's a tremendous level of clarity when you just simplify your style down. And also when you simplify your style down, you can focus on a lot of things that are kind of like UX that feel good. So you can focus on look, I think those recoil animations are very satisfying. So there's a lot of the things that will actually matter to the game feel part of the experience that I think they've been able to really just dial in on because they have far less fidelity. And also, when there's less graphical fidelity, when there's less atmospherics and, haze and those things that, yes, are very immersive and spooky when you're playing Battlefield, there's a lot of readability here. Now, that being said, look at this at night. I think actually their night gameplay is really well supported by their graphical style too. Look at their destruction. It's whenever you don't have your destruction happening in a world that looks photoreal, you're able to have that destruction be far more convincing, far easier. So it really seems that this is an incredibly impressive effort from a 4-player team, and this shows how indies can disrupt. This is lasering down straight to the core of why so many people would want to play Battlefield, and it's just delivering that experience, but without the hurdles of PC hardware, without being tied into the sort of live service trappings of a really big live service game. So yes, by stripping all that fidelity back, they're able to have crazy up to 254 player games on massive maps. They can have milsim features like proximity voice chat and dragging downed players. It's crazy. And of course, they say this is only the start. While they are a small team, I think they are defined by just punching above their weight. So here's the early access launch. The current features being 6 classes, weapon customization, vehicles, up to 254 players, 200 ranks of progression with a prestige system, teamwork features, community server stuff, construction, which I love. I mean, man, I really love the construction stuff in BF5. Also, 17 maps, including a shooting range mode. And they're saying in the future, quality of life updates, new game modes, new vehicles, new gadgets, new features, milsim mode, post-launch maps. So maybe I will come to you guys next week with a video on this. I certainly know, on our team, I think me, Connor, and Connell at the very least would be interested in playing a game like this. So who knows? Maybe the 3 of us will jump in and I'll be able to share some gameplay experience with you next week. I always love times where you can champion an indie that's really punched above their weight. It was really fun doing that with, I can't believe I've forgotten its name. It was the healer, the sort of MMO healing inspired game that we covered, where the developer actually afterwards reached out to us and thanked us. I think the exposure really helped, which was really cool. It's just always cool to see a good game actually be rewarded once players know it exists. I think about Valheim. They punched above their weight for a small team, and obviously the massive success of Vampire Survivor. And finally, for our panda story of the day, the nice funny thing to end with, we do have McDonald's have released a new Game Boy Color game. Yeah, this is a part of the 52nd birthday event. So the Grimace game, titled Grimace's Birthday, has been developed by Cool Toys using Game Boy Studio. And if you have a Game Boy Color, you can put the game into your Game Boy Color and play it. Because you can download the game and run it as a ROM on an emulator, and I imagine you can slurp this onto a cartridge and literally play it on a Game Boy Color. It's quite funny. Do you remember I Love You, Colonel Sanders, the KFC did? That was all kind of fun. We've got Sneak King, where the Burger King is stealthily delivering food to lumberjacks. And then, of course, McDonald's Treasure Land Adventure from 1993 that was made by a very legendary arcade developer called Treasure. Ronald looks terrifying in that. I mean, it totally does remind you of, breakfast cereal games, and on that we have got Shaq's Quest HD. This was a serial boomer shooter. Yes, it was. Can I get some gameplay? Yeah, there you go. A breakfast cereal boomer shooter that actually has had a remaster that happened like 2020, and you look at it, like 80% with 1,500 reviews, and it's free. So it's like, yeah, that's pretty neat. Okay, so you can go and play those games and maybe load up some McDonald's onto your Game Boy Color, or maybe you could try checking out BattleBit. It certainly does look worth doing. Of course, we released a video yesterday. We will almost certainly release a video tomorrow. There's lots going on in the channel and the industry, so be sure to ring that bell, click all notifications, or else you'll only sometimes find out about the news, which isn't really good when it's the news. And with that said, I'll see you next time.